School of Graphics. In this video tutorial on how to get this graphic for free as a premium member, and then also slide it into an Asphalt late model and adjust it to customize it and make it look a little bit more unique than it is just coming right out of the file. If there's any audio problems, if you hear crackling, echoing, anything like that, please let me know right away in the comments. It's something that I'm working on in the videos. This is my third time trying to do this video. The first one was just an absolute audio disaster, so I'd like to prevent that if I could. So just let me know in the comments if you hear anything that doesn't sound exactly right, or if it's echoing. So first I'm going to show you, if you're a premium member, where you can get this graphic at. So if you're logged into your account, which you can just go to schoolofracinggraphics.com/my-account. Once you're here, there's a button to get to that file. If you're not a premium member, you won't see any of this, but there will be a prompt here on how to sign up for premium membership at that link. So once I'm here, I'm going to click on More Design Tools. I've already got it clicked here. And once you're under More Design Tools, I'm going to click Pre-Release Graphic Assets. That's essentially what this graphic is. It's a pre-release graphic, meaning we've not boxed it up yet. We've not put it in Flexi or Photoshop or Inkscape or any of those. Now, it'll still work as a PDF in your vector software and open and edit just fine. We've just not split it into those other software. And once we do, we're going to launch it on the website as a product at a price. And so as a premium member, you just get to download it for free before we do any of that. But once it's up on the website, it won't be free anymore. So I'm going to just go ahead and click this, and you'll see it'll come up. It's on Google Drive, and then I'm just going to click the download button here. That's going to prompt me. It's going to download it wherever it downloads. So if on your computer, it's wherever your download folder is, or if you have to go to your desktop or however. So I've already got it open in Illustrator, so I'm not going to navigate to the file. But once you have it open, it opens just like, you can expect a PDF to open up pretty clean in Adobe Illustrator, grouped together. Colors are still separated for, spot and mix and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't really lose the information. It just puts it in a PDF, so it's compatible with other design software. So you're not going to be able to open this. The only downside to this particular file, until we release the full package of it, is that there's no Photoshop file. This will just come in as a flat layer in Photoshop. But all the other vector design software, you'll be able to open it and edit it pretty easily. So I'm going to go ahead and take this guy here, and I'm going to bring it over into the Asphalt late model template. And my goal here isn't to create some spectacular design. It's just to show you how easy it is to use these graphics. I always like to do a demo. I don't like to just launch stuff and say, go get this. I like to show you how I use it and how I anticipate you might use it, or kind of split it up and make some unique designs out of it. If you have any questions, also just hit me up right in the comments. I'll answer any questions I can while I'm designing. I can design and answer questions at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in, and I'm going to add 2 swatches. And just my swatch window, actually, I'm working in Adobe Illustrator, obviously. My swatch window is a bit of a mess, so I'm going to go ahead and select all my unused ones and just delete them out, just so that I don't have so many that I'm working through here. It makes it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing here. Okay, so this graphic, it'll work, on any type of car. So sprint car, Asphalt late model, Asphalt modified. But it's all about how you're going to maneuver it and how you're going to slice it up and use it. You could use it just out of the box as is, but at the end of the day, I always like to customize it. Sorry, my wife is texting me. I told her I was live streaming. I don't know why she is trying to call. Okay. So, all right, getting back to it. You could use it on sprint car, dirt modified, dirt late model. The point is it's universal. But you're going to use it different depending on what car you use it on. Like when I design these, I imagine it going on this style car. Like, really anything that works on a long car like this is going to work on almost any type of car with a little bit of modification. So dirt late model, asphalt late model, street stocks, those kind of cars, really they're the same basic shape with different rake, at the top. And I'm not saying that they're the same car. I'm not saying that. Somebody will call me out and say that I'm saying that. I'm not. But what I'm saying is you can get away with the same premises on those three cars with adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and reflect it over, and I'm going to clean up my layers a little bit. Just move this around. So I have it in the graphic layer, and I'm just going to slide it down in. And I always work in my live template. So this template here, it auto updates when I click save. That's just how I have mine set up, because I have it set. I have an active link set right here. So I just take two artboards and I set them next to each other. Save that file, and then I bring a link through by going to File and Place. And then I just go right back to the same file that I saved. And then there's an option. Well, so then I line up artboard 2 in the template, so that I can work over here in a cleaner template without having the distraction of working through and picking through all that kind of stuff. I don't set that up in my templates. So if you're gonna ask me why my templates aren't set up that way, because it only works in Adobe Illustrator, and I'm not gonna set up and advertise something that isn't gonna work across the board for all the users. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and it'll take a second to save, and then it's going to give me a prompt. Do I want to update it within the template? You can see here. And if you want to get this template, I think I linked to it in the description. It's just the 5-star Asphalt late model template. And this number set is number set 18. I think I also linked to that in the description. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes. You can see, pretty basic. Obviously, there's going to be work that we're going to want to do, but we got a good start at getting the graphic into the back of the car. So I'm actually going to simplify this quite a bit. I'm not going to have it be a super complicated graphic. I want to leave it nice and clean. But one thing I do want to do is, I could make it so, it does something like that, and then it kind of slices through the car, but then my white on my 8 gets lost in the white of the background of my graphic. And I can go through and change colors, but that all is going to depend on how long I want this video to be, which I don't want it to be super long. But you can see here, there's this little hook, which usually these little hooks in graphics have a lot of value because you can wrap your design elements within them. So I call it like a number trap. So I'm going to kind of focus on that area, I think, with this design. So I'm going to size it up and then just tilt it a little bit, size it up some more, and like that, and move this forward, because really what I want that orange and that red to kind of be the driving force behind the entire theme of this graphic. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the rake. So you can see there's a rake here. Rake is just another word for the angle of the car, the top of the car. And so I'm going to go ahead and follow that with the red line there. So this will be a pretty conservative design. And I don't want the red to get tucked up underneath the motor co. So I'm going to leave it just below that right there. And you can see it follows through the design pretty well. So there's some consistency, right? We got the red and the orange down here, and then we have the red and the orange over here, and it's visible on both sides, making it, just super consistent when you look at the design. So I'm going to save that, take a look at it. I always kind of save before I start really dissecting and getting into the work. I save and I look and I save and I look, and so nothing is ever just do it one time and then leave it. So I kind of like that, but this is where I'm going to start kind of really maneuvering the graphics. So the first thing I'm going to do is these at this time they're just not useful. I can take them and copy them and then paste them and put them up here for later use, maybe come back in detail with those. For now, I'm just going to focus on the white and this orange and red here. I'm going to do the same thing with this here. Delete that out. And then I'm going to take these two guys here. I'm going to group them together. And one thing I always like to do, especially with straight graphics, it's really easier. It's a lot easier to do with straight graphics. Is you can take them and you can grab nodes just by hitting the A key in Adobe Illustrator, which is called the direct select tool. So instead of the V key, which is the black tool, which is just select tool, instead of selecting the whole item, the V one will select just the nodes. And so I can come and select just these nodes, and then I can start pulling the graphic around like this. And without having to modify, like I might like where that is, so I'm just going to move this around, and then I can nudge them and eyeball them into place. And I don't care really how far I go back here, because I'm actually thinking off the back of the car, and then it gets resolved on the back bumper, or goes across the back bumper, or just resolves right at the very end. It just gets cut off one way or another. So then I'm going to go ahead and get out of ISO mode, and you can see there, you can click this and it kind of shows you where the car is and where the graphic is in comparison. But I lost that orange, so what I'm going to want to do now is get this into ISO mode. So I double click it and I grab those nodes and I grab these nodes. I don't really have to grab these ones, they're irrelevant right now. And I can just move this down like that. And then go ahead and save it, and let's take a look, see what we got. And it'll take it a second to upload. One trick that I've learned with Illustrator is kind of a bit of a hack, is if you just go out of Illustrator when you've saved and linked to a file and come back in, the prompt will come up almost right away. So like that prompt, we waited for it. But if I would have went out of the out of the file for a second, or the program, Illustrator, and came back, that would have came up right away. And then it would have given me that prompt to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just move that up a little bit. And so people ask me a lot of the time, you know, I'll post stuff in my portfolio, and they'll look at my portfolio, and then they'll go and buy the graphic that I used on a car in the portfolio, and then they'll say, I can't create the car that you created in your portfolio, which they're welcome to do. I don't mind that. But the point is that I always am typically taking the graphic and modifying it up to make it work for each car. So I can just use it out of the box, but I prefer not to. I prefer to make those changes to make it a little bit more unique and cater it to each car. So I could do kind of a cool thing here where I could dip the graphic down here and like have it be blue to the bottom, and then the white starts again on the front. Or I could just bring this line up here to level out, which is I'm a little bit more inclined to do that. It's like something like this. And then bring the, it's better to zoom in, to be honest. And then I'll bring that blue up. So I can just get rid of these. And I'm just hitting the minus key, and then it brings that up. And then you really want to learn those shortcuts, because then it makes it really easy to work with the pen tool, because then you're not clicking over here and coming over here, clicking over here and then coming over here. It's just, you know, minus key to take away one, plus key to add a node, and then V to get direct select, or to get select, and A to get direct select. And once you kind of get that memorized, man, it makes your workflow a lot better. It just makes everything a lot easier to work with. And then one other thing I might do is I might take this and just pull it out a little bit, get that point, get that detail back into the design so it's not lost behind the contingencies there. And I'll bring this guy up too, just like that. I could honestly just delete this and re-offset the path so it's nice and clean, but I don't think, if you're watching this video, you probably already know what I'm talking about. You don't need me to go through and do that. And so I'm just gonna be lazy and eyeball that for now. And then it gets a little messy in this spot here with these blues. So I'm going to go ahead and, first of all, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take these two, this guy here, and these two, I'm just going to close this gap up right here a little bit, like that. And then I'm going to grab just these two and adjust the rake down right there. Because at the end, I'm just going to cut these off, all the extra. It's just going to get cut off. And so I don't mind if it's sloppy on the back end for a minute. And I always do that. One, it helps save on file size. And two, it makes it easier to look at when you're trying to maneuver around a file. Okay, so I don't like how these are kind of looping in right here, which I know I'm kind of starting to get away from the original character of the graphic, but that is the point. Now, if I was to bring this in sprint car or whatever, I might just pop it in there and throw it on, and it would, like, right away, it's like there's a perfect spot for a number, there's a perfect spot for a sponsor, but that's just not always the case. And so I'm willing to remaneuver the graphics. So first thing I'm going to do here, because I already know what I want to do, so I'm just going to cut these off. And I just did that with the erase tool. So I hit E, and then I held Shift. It's Shift E, by the way. So it's Shift E, and that brings up the erase tool. Shift E, like that. And then I just hold down Shift, and it strikes through straight. It doesn't go wobbly, right? Just straight through, straight through. Kind of gives you those 90s. And so I'm going to do it again over here for now. Because I already know in my head the direction I want to go, I have the luxury of just doing things like that, where I'm like, I'm not going to use that piece, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Again, this piece here doesn't really serve much of a purpose, and I'm kind of focusing on a little bit of a cleaner design, so I don't mind just getting rid of it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that back like that. And now I got, these 4 lines. And the 2 blues are more subtle. They're just nice little details that, they're not necessary, but they add a little bit to the design. So I think I'll keep. All right, so I'm going to go ahead before I make any more progress, and I'm going to save. And then I'm going to come over here, I'm going to get out of this program, come back. Well, it's 3060. Okay, here we go. Bam, see, there it is. All right, so now I think that's a pretty good look. It kind of reminds me of Chase Elliott. A mix between Chase Elliott and Ken Schrader's color. Ken Schrader's colors, right? And number 8. All right, so a couple of things you want to consider when you're working with a graphic up on the nose. You don't want your installer to think about making pattern or each line, all that kind of stuff. So a couple of different options. You have color the white nose on the body. That would be ideal in this case if you're wanting white to wrap around the nose. So if we were to assume that was going to happen, we can make a natural breaking point somewhere in here. And just kind of do something. And then wait for it to save. Go out, come back in. There it is. And you can see. And then I'm just going to bring it forward here. Again, you guys hear anything in the audio, please tell me what's nice and let me know. So it's between notes to adjust it. It's really what I'm trying to focus on, actually, is working on the quality. And so you could keep playing with this here to get it to a natural place. And then another thing you could do is you could just bring it down right here and then resolve it right here and then come through this area here. I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to perfect it. Because I just don't want the video to be like super long and for you to sit here and watch me mash nodes around. We all have better ways to spend our time. So we'll do that. Like that. So imagine it could come down here and that you could resolve it without wrapping around to all the complicated shapes in the front that are on this particular nose, if that makes sense. One more thing that I like to consider sometimes on these cars is because you got this rear fender on the left side of the car, and it's got a different rake or angle than the top does. And so sometimes I like to take the graphic just like as it is, and I like to go into the wheel well, and I'll split the difference. I'll cut it, just a nice clean cut, and then I'll grab all these nodes and instead of just leaving it at the same angle, I'm not going to follow the top angle, but I'm not going to follow the bottom one either. I'm going to kind of go in between them and give it just a little bit of an angle there that's more than what's on the very front of the car. And I could even slide it down a little bit. And because they're grouped together, they're still moving together. My goal here is to separate them. Okay, so that, and maybe I should move that down just for consistency's sake. It all depends on how it looks after you save it and see it on the template. Like that. But and so you can't, like by your eye, you can't really tell that I did anything, but I did, and those types of things do make a difference, and so it's really important to consider those kinds of things. I'm going to bring it up a little bit more, like that. It just helps split the difference and make things look a little bit more natural rather than just elongated. Go ahead and wait for it to save. Oh, I got to save the hit. Okay. There you go. It's not follows a little bit more the top and the bottom split, but it's not so egregious that it's like it looks broken, and that's kind of what I'm going for. So instead of working over here and guessing what I'm going to do, I can just go straight into my template, and this is more for the purpose of presentation and not, or more so for the purpose of this video, and not really. The idea here isn't to show you how I would set the rep file up, but to show you what I would have done over in the other artboard. Is you can, you come in with your shape, and you do something like this. Blue, okay, get my plus pen, and then, I could bring this here, and bring this here like this. And just kind of bring a natural end to the graph before it wraps around into something super crazy like that, So, and that's really just to help your installer out, especially if you're the designer and the installer. Like, help yourself out. Just give you a better idea of some of the options. Again, I would play with that more. I'm not sold on this idea. Maybe bring this down like that. It's always safe to follow body lines. It really helps the design. And like that, kind of mask it in there. There's ways to work it though, and you can do the same on the back. If you don't want this to wrap around the back, you can bring some of that blue in and do something. Maybe bring it in, sharing one of these, angles that are back here. Again, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to put them in the comments. I'll answer any questions I can while I'm working. And you'll be able to watch this video if you don't have time now. I'll have it. It'll be on YouTube and on my Facebook page and all that kind of stuff, so you can go back and watch it later if you want to. Okay, like that. And so, see, it's kind of sharing this same idea. I'm kind of more wanting to work with that angle, this one down here. So I was trying to duplicate it, and I messed it up. And it might not look good, but who's to say you can't experiment, is the point, right? I will always experiment with things and find out if it works or not. So then go ahead and hit save. Come over here. And there you go. You kind of have it kind of actually adds to the design, but it makes it so you don't have to wrap around the back bumper and use up a bunch more material. It still has a really nice look to it. I like it the other way better, and so for my own presentation, I'm just going to keep it how I like it, because I have the luxury of doing that. I'm going to get rid of this little blue spot in here, and if you notice, I'm picky about those kinds of things, and I think it's important to be. Locking these other things so I can get into selecting these without selecting anything else, like that. And then this guy here, I'm not wanting to wrap anything around down the front, so again, I'm just going to delete it out for now. And pull that out. And then if I wanted to, I could bring these subtleties back in. And again, it's just an experiment. It's not something I'm like sold on doing, but I don't mind trying things like this. Sometimes one thing that I always like to do is design something and walk away from it for a little while. And when I come back, I find out it's a lot easier to see the problems within the design than it is, sitting there and looking at it for hours on end. Because once you're looking at it for so long, you can convince yourself something looks right until it doesn't, or until you get fresh eyes on it later. Or sometimes it's like getting somebody else to look at it, and they're like, no, something looks lopsided there, or whatever. And so that's always helpful, is I think, to walk away. And it helps relieve stress too, to design something and walk away for a little bit and come back, and it'll expedite your process. It'll speed it up. I mean, in the sense that because you could sit there and move things around for an hour and nothing is looking right, and you can't figure out why, and then you walk away and you come back and you immediately see the problem. I don't know why our brains work that way, but they do. And so, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend to be. So then I'm going to delete that. And then what I like to do, because I really don't like my work to be sloppy, is I'm going to clean it all up. And so, again, I'm just going to use Shift-E, like this, and I'm going to go ahead and slice that, cut it, get out of here, and I'm going to Shift-E and just make a clean line across the bottom and a nice clean line across the front, like that, and now I have my graphic pretty well cleaned up, and I can select it and move it around however I want. And then I'm going to go ahead and save and take a look at the updated version. And so there you go. You can kind of see it. There would be definitely more work I would do here on the nose to kind of get it to match the hard corners and shapes that I have within the graphic. But you get the basic idea. So now another cool thing is I work with global colors. So you could take this white graphic here. I'm going to combine it back together. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a stroke on it. Oops, something weird there. Sometimes Illustrator's trying to anticipate what you're doing instead of actually doing what you want. So let's say I'm going to put a 0.5. I'm not working in real size, so don't hold me accountable. 0.5, I'm going to set it to the inside. Let's do just 1 pixel actually. And turn that orange. And get this back to white. Okay, so it gives me a little extra detail there. And then save it, take a look at it over here on my presentation template. And the other cool thing I can do is that, it doesn't have to be a blue car. It could be a black car. So, or red car or whatever. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and see what swatch. So yeah, like let's say if I just switch the white over to black, okay, and then I switched the blue, the dark blue, over to white. And so now all of a sudden I have kind of a totally different vibe going on. And, this could go to red, or it could go to white, or whatever. And this is not final. I would definitely do some contrast tweaks on this. But, you're going to get a completely different feel just by changing a couple of swatches around because they're global, right? So now it's like a totally different vibe on the car. I would probably turn these a dark gray, so that there's some more contrast. That blue line is out of place back there, but you get the basic idea. And so you can play with it quite a bit. So I could take these. This is what I would do if I was going to do this. And get them light gray. Do that. You know. Something like that. And then the only thing I would want to do different, like I don't ever like it when colors go from dark to light to dark. Like, so I would probably just switch these two around. So get the red on here, and then get the orange on here, like that. And it just kind of has a better feel to it. At least that's how I think about it. And then this red is probably too dark. It's closing up gaps. So I'd probably take that, put some orange on it, just to lighten it up and get it closer to a lighter value. Kind of softens it up. Same thing with Motor Co. I'm not going to sit here and redesign the whole thing and redo a whole other car. This point here ends up getting lost behind the 8, which is something I didn't anticipate. You could do that. And now when you come over here, you can see my blue in here is still blue, which is not very consistent with what I have going on at this point. And so I'll go in, update it. And there you go. Now we have it's almost like a totally different vibe on the car. And then same thing, I can, go red, right? So it could be, and then an orange, or blue, or light blue, or yellow. So you got a lot of options once you start really messing with stuff and going through and having a good workflow. So, told you how to get the graphic. You just go into your account, go into pre-release graphics, and you just get the newest one. These other two are in there from previous dates. I'm not always going to leave these in here. So once they get launched on the website, they won't be in here and they won't be free for premium members anymore. So you can just see the date that it was put in here, 11/8/22. So that was yesterday, or November 8th, whatever, depending on when you're watching the video. So download it. You can slide it into your wrap, get stuff done really quick. You don't use your coupon or anything to do it. You just come right in here and download it. I am going to be releasing the premium member graphic. I'm waiting on a piece of hardware to come in for iPad to finish drawing it. And I'm a little bit frustrated. I've been waiting a little longer than I anticipated. But it is going to be a hand-drawn graphic with crisp elements, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun graphic. So I'm excited to get it launched. And so if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. You can always hit us up on the support page. Just go to srgspecs.com or schoolofgraphics.com. Need help, and then go to tips. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be making more videos in the future.